The billionaire Sheikh's reputation was untouchable, stoic, imperious, a man whose heart was as guarded as the vaults of his vast empire. Yet, on this very flight, poised thousands of feet above the clouds, something unspoken began to fracture within him. The cabin of the private jet shimmered with opulence. Golden accents caught the soft glow of the overhead lights, while silken cushions whispered luxury. The scent of oud and rare spices wove subtly through the air, entangling with the sterile hum of the engines and the endless expanse of midnight sky, visible beyond the tiny windows. Within this suspended bubble, the world outside seemed impossibly distant, yet emotions surged fiercely within. His gaze, cold and measured as the polished marble floors of his palace, betrayed a restlessness he had never known. Used to commanding every moment, he now found the steady beat of his own heart a curious distraction. Opposite him sat a woman whose presence sliced through the controlled calm like a desert storm. Her emerald eyes, sharp and fierce, glimmered with the desperation of someone clinging to hope against all odds. There was a certain defiance in her posture, an unsettling blend of fragility and courage that refused to be overlooked. The heiress's fingers trembled subtly as she gripped the armrest, each breath she took a mixture of fear and determination. She was no ordinary traveler. Beneath the surface lay secrets that threatened to topple kingdoms and fortunes alike. She stared directly into the Sheikh's inscrutable mask, unafraid to meet the challenge woven into his silent scrutiny. When their eyes finally locked, the atmosphere thickened. Neither spoke, yet their silent exchange fanned a spark neither could deny. His usual coldness met her unyielding will, creating a charged tension that rippled between them like electricity. The confined space seemed to shrink, the invisible walls pulsating with unsaid words and tangled desires. "Do you always look so unreadable?" Her voice broke the silence, low and steady, but edged with a teasing sharpness. He allowed the faintest incline of his brow. "Only when the company requires it." That small deflection sparked a fragile game of wills. Every glance, every breath, every deliberately measured word was a move on a board neither wished to concede. Despite himself, the Sheikh felt the first stirrings of something foreign, an ache of curiosity, perhaps the smallest crack in his fortress of control. But beneath the surface, dark currents swirled. As the flight stretched on, a fleeting moment, the brush of her hand against a hidden locket caught his attention. An emblem he had not expected to see, a silent symbol laden with danger and deception. The poison of suspicion mingled dangerously with the pull of his unexpectedly stolen heart. His mind shattered under the weight of it all. The realization settled like a thunderclap. This heiress was far more than a desperate soul. She was a riddle wrapped in secrets, and his carefully curated world was slipping through his fingers. As the cabin lights dimmed into a soft twilight, the billionaire Sheikh confronted an impossible truth. The ice around his heart was cracking, and the first flight was only the beginning of a journey neither of them could escape. And before the next secret of the skies is unveiled, make sure you're already part of our caravan of stories. Many destinies will still be written, and I don't want you to miss a single moment. Leave a like if this billionaire Sheikh's heart has already caught your curiosity. Tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? And what twist do you think is coming next? Your passion for these dramas inspires us to keep going. Thank you for flying with us. The first light of dawn had begun to brush against the horizon when the private jet finally touched down on the gleaming tarmac of the distant emirate. Yet, inside that gilded vessel, wrapped in secrets as impenetrable as the desert night, the tension refused to dissipate. The billionaire Sheikh sat rigidly, his eyes shadowed beneath thick lashes, haunted by the flicker of the silver locket concealed beneath the heiress's delicate blouse. That small emblem, an insignia he thought long buried, wove a sinister thread between them, tightening the invisible noose around his carefully ordered world. Opposite him, the heiress exhaled slowly, the faint tremor in her fingers barely hidden by practiced composure. She glanced away before meeting his gaze again, fierce and unyielding. Nothing was said of the revelation burning silently between them, as if both feared to shatter the fragile sanctity of their forced companionship. The drive from the airport was cloaked in shadows. The Sheikh's sleek black car slid smoothly through deserted streets, lined with palm trees, whispering secrets in the gentle breeze. The city awake but distant, unaware of the storm gathering within its most exalted palace. Inside the car, the atmosphere was thick with restraint, each breath shared like a fragile truce. The heiress's emerald eyes flicked toward him once more, her voice barely above a whisper. "You know why I'm here. You think me naive. But there's more at stake than you realize." He did not reply immediately. The stoic calm was a sheath for the swirling tempest beneath. His mind raced with memories, betrayals, and stakes far greater than the fortune they both represented. The locket's secret was a challenge, a wound reopened. "Our world is one where trust is a luxury," he finally murmured, his voice dipped in weary regret. "Yet here you are, offering yours like an offering to a god." A bitter smile flickered on her lips. "Perhaps I offer nothing but a chance for truth, if you can accept it." The palace emerged like a mirage against the growing dawn, a fortress of marbled halls and golden halls where power breathed in every opulent detail. As they climbed the grand staircase to the private chambers, the contrast between their different worlds was stark but palpable. In the vast salon, the Sheikh's most trusted advisor awaited, a tall man with steely eyes that missed nothing. His presence was a reminder of the court's unyielding gaze, judgment lurking. Beneath every polite word and deferential nod, the heiress's arrival was already the spark threatening to ignite dormant rivalries. "You return at last, my lord," the advisor intoned, bowing slightly, but betraying no warmth. "The council awaits word about the heiress. Decisions must be made." The Sheikh's gaze was ice as he turned to face the man. "There can be no hasty judgments. This is not merely a political ploy. There's something deeper. A secret that could unravel us all." The heiress stood by silently, the weight of unspoken truths pressing heavily. She knew the whispers that followed her, accusations, suspicions. But now was not the time for defense. The Sheikh's rare vulnerability was a cracked veil, one she dared not shatter with reckless truths. Later, in the private quarters, the Sheikh paced restlessly, the soft clink of his cufflinks a sharp contrast to the storm in his thoughts. The locket, now resting ominously on the polished surface of his desk, seemed to hum with an energy he could neither control nor ignore. Suddenly, the door creaked. The heiress entered, her silhouette framed by the fading light. Her voice was calm but resolute. "You don't have to face this alone." He stopped pacing, eyes darkening with a pain he rarely admitted. "I built my empire on certainty. Now everything is shrouded in questions I dare not ask." Her step brought her closer, the scent of jasmine trailing behind her, a rare softness in the harsh desert winds. "We both carry burdens, not just of titles and wealth, but of past choices and lost trust." A flicker of something tender crossed his face. "And yet here you stand, unbroken." Their eyes met, the weight of history and possibility swirling in the silent space between them. No words could bridge the chasm fully, but the unspoken promises lingered like a fragile thread. Outside, the desert night deepened, the vast silence echoing the uncharted path before them. Just as a sudden knock shattered the quiet, the Sheikh's phone buzzed ominously. A message appeared, its sender unknown, yet chillingly familiar. "You've been warned before. Betrayal wears many faces." The heiress's hand instinctively reached for his, their fingers brushing in a fleeting, electrifying touch. For a moment, the fortress of their guarded hearts softened. But that fleeting warmth was swallowed by the darkness returning to the room. The game had only just begun. And the Sheikh understood, with a cold certainty, that the greatest betrayal might come not from the outside world, but from the one shadowed truth neither was yet ready to confront. The Sheikh's gaze lingered on the ominous message glowing on his phone screen. The words echoed in his mind. Betrayal wore many faces. His fingers trembled for a fraction of a second before he locked the device, sealing away the threat like a whispered curse. The heiress's hand still rested near his, their brief touch a fragile thread knitting solitude into something almost familiar. He swallowed a storm of emotions. Power had always been his armor, yet now it felt brittle, threatened not by armies or politics, but by secrets and fragile trust suspended between two souls. The night outside pressed upon the palace, vast and unyielding, mirroring the cold weight settling deep within him. The heiress broke the silence, voice low but unwavering. "Someone wants to keep us apart. They fear what truth we might uncover together." He moved away slightly, eyes flickering with caution and a reluctant spark of hope. "And yet, here you are, risking much. Why?" Her emerald eyes held his like a challenge, tempered with vulnerability. "Because the lies we live can destroy everything, including us." A single shaft of moonlight filtered through the towering windows, casting ephemeral patterns on the polished marble floor. The palace that once felt foreboding now seemed caught in the same tense moment, half in shadow, half in fragile light. He rose abruptly and paced the length of the room. His footsteps echoed, an uneven metronome marking the rhythm of his unraveling control. I built my empire from certainty and fear. Yet with you, every certainty shakes, like the desert in a sudden storm. She followed, voice softening. Then maybe it's time to embrace the storm, not run from it. We both carry histories none else could understand, secrets etched deeper than gold or bloodlines. Her words stirred memories that flickered like desert mirages, choices made in solitude, sacrifices buried beneath veils of duty. He faced her once more, vulnerable edges hidden only by the faintest rising of his chin. What secret hides behind that locket of yours? That symbol, it was thought lost, erased. With the past I buried. The heiress smiled faintly, eyes shimmering with sorrow and fierce pride. And yet it survived, much like me, and hopefully much like the truth between us. Suddenly, a servant entered quietly and whispered words to the Sheikh's ear. His face hardened instantly. The storm over the desert night now paled before the tempest gathering inside. The council is divided, he said grimly. Some want us to sever ties with you, to consider your presence a threat. The heiress's jaw clenched, because they fear the power truth holds. But I don't intend to be silenced. His gaze softened for a brief moment, a flicker of tenderness mixed with weary resolve. Nor will I abandon you to those shadows, but the path ahead is fraught with peril, far more than either of us imagined. As he walked toward the ornate window, he pressed his hand against the cool glass. Below, the city stirred awake. The palms swayed in the desert breeze, oblivious to the silent war waging within opulent walls. She joined him, her shoulder barely brushing his. We don't have to be prisoners of the past. Together, we could forge something new, something beyond power and secrets. The weight of their unspoken desire hung thick in the air, pulling at them irresistibly. Yet beneath that fragile pull lay an abyss, a secret neither dared reveal. He turned, eyes narrowing, despite the warmth threatening to surface. Before dawn, I must confront the truths that claw at my empire's foundation. And at the heart of those truths, ... is a betrayal I once never saw coming. Her voice dropped to a whisper, trembling with a blend of fear and fierce loyalty. Whatever it is, we face it together. Their hands met again, this time with purpose, a silent vow etched in the space between them. In that moment, the distant wail of a horn shattered the quiet, slicing through the clarity like a knife through silk. The Sheikh's phone buzzed anew. Another message, this time with a photo attachment. He stared, breath catching. The photograph showed a clandestine meeting beneath the midnight sky. A trusted advisor exchanging documents with a shadow than we ever feared. The heiress leaned in, lips barely brushing his ear. Then the true test begins, not of wealth or power, but of loyalty and love. Their eyes locked, the flames of trust and treachery entwined in a dangerous dance. The moonlight cast long shadows across the room, shadows that concealed more than just the night. A sudden knock at the door jolted them apart. The Sheikh's jaw clenched as heavy footsteps approached. As the door creaked open, a figure stepped into the threshold, unknown, yet unmistakably bearing the weight of a secret that could change everything. The Sheikh swallowed hard, the fragile fortress around his heart trembling on the brink of collapse. "Your past and my future," the stranger spoke softly, "are more intertwined than you ever dared imagine." The figure in the doorway was a silhouette against the faint glow spilling from the hallway behind him. A stranger, yet not a stranger, his presence threading unease through the opulent quiet. The Sheikh's eyes narrowed, heartbeat ticking louder against the heavy silence. "Speak," the Sheikh's voice broke the stillness, low and unwavering, carrying the weight of command, suspicion, and a trace of a dread he refused to name. The man stepped forward, the polished marble floor reflecting a measured confidence. "My lord, there are alliances forged in shadows, treaties sealed by whispers. But there is one truth you have yet to face, a truth that ties your lineage not just to power, but to betrayal so deep it threatens to unravel everything." The heiress, standing close, behind the Sheikh, tightened her grip on the locket concealed beneath her blouse. Her emerald eyes never left the visitor. The room seemed to pulse with the impending storm she knew was coming. "What do you mean?" the Sheikh demanded, his voice sharper now, a blade unsheathed. "Tell me everything." The stranger's eyes flicked to the locket briefly, a flicker of recognition sparking behind his gaze. "That emblem is not just a relic. It marks you as heir to a secret pact, one made generations ago, hidden beneath layers of deception and bloodshed. A pact that binds your family to a dark past some would kill to keep buried." For a heartbeat, all breath seemed to still. The Sheikh's mind churned, fragments of memories colliding with long-forgotten whispered tales from his youth. The locket, once dismissed as mere ornament, was a key threading his destiny to shadows he never wished to acknowledge. The heiress stepped forward, voice steady but laced with urgency. "I carry this because I believe the truth sets us free. We cannot build our future while chained to lies." A bitter laugh escaped the Sheikh, harsh and raw. "Freedom from truth? The empire I forged was built on controlling the stories told, controlling every shadow." He paced again, the heavy silk of his robes whispering against the marble. The knock at the door earlier, the messages on his phone, the growing tensions in his council, all were threads of the same web tightening around him. The heiress's presence was no longer a secret to be tolerated, but a spark igniting an inferno. Her courage pierced his walls, her defiance a mirror to his own hidden doubts. The stranger withdrew a folded document from beneath his cloak, sliding it across the gleaming wooden table. The Sheikh caught the glint of the seal, a symbol intertwined with his family's crest, yet twisted in unfamiliar ways. "This," the stranger said gravely, "is proof of the conspiracy. Trusted allies exchanging power for poison, loyalty for lies. This threatens to consume not just your empire, but the very soul of the desert." The Sheikh's eyes stormed over the paper, the weight of ages pressing down. His fingers clenched the armrest, knuckles whitening. The empire's foundation, the wealth, the loyalty, everything now seemed precariously perched on a knife's edge. The heiress moved closer, the scent of jasmine and spice enveloping him. Her voice broke through the tempest. "We can face this together. I'm not your enemy." He met her gaze, the glint of vulnerability reflecting in his dark eyes. It was a look he rarely allowed himself to reveal, the man beneath the legend. "Why do you risk so much?" he whispered, almost to himself. "Because some secrets deserve the light," she replied firmly. "Because love isn't just a weakness. It's our strength, a silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken promises and the weight of battles yet to be fought." Outside, the desert wind stirred, carrying the echoes of forgotten wars and the hope of dawn. Suddenly, the palace doors burst open. Shadowed figures poured in, members of the council, their faces grim, conviction burning in their eyes. They came bearing edicts, accusations forged in fear and suspicion. One elder, voice harsh, demanded, "Your Grace, this affair endangers all we have built. The heiress is a threat to our sovereignty. We advise immediate severance." The Sheikh's gaze hardened. "And what of the truth, hidden in the darkness you yourselves refuse to confront?" The room crackled with tension, loyalty splintering like shattered glass. The heiress stood tall, defiant amidst the storm. "You fear change because it shatters your comfort, but history favors those willing to face the fire." Whispers rose, daggers hidden in polite words, but the sheikh raised a hand, silencing the chamber. "Enough. We will uncover the truth, not alone." He turned to the heiress again, the fragile alliance between them now forged in steel and fire. At that moment, a distant thunder rolled across the desert. The storm was not just outside these walls. It brewed within hearts and halls alike. In the private sanctum, the sheikh's fingers brushed the locket, the only link to a past no one dared reveal. His eyes, filled with a storm of defiance and fear, shifted toward the heiress. "We stand at a crossroad," he declared. "Either we confront the betrayal within, or watch everything we've built fall into ruin." Her hand found his once more, this time steady, a pact sealed in silence. Outside the window, the first true light of dawn pierced the horizon, casting long shadows over a desert and a destiny forever changed. But as the sheikh's phone buzzed again, this time with a cryptic message, "The past bites hardest when the heart is most exposed." His breath caught, the icy grip of fate tightening once more. And in that fragile moment, the sheikh knew the greatest battle was yet to come. The stranger's shadow lingered in the doorway, even as the council members' murmurs simmered into tense silence. The sheikh's heart pounded beneath the weight of revelation. His empire, a bastion of power and pride, fracturing beneath the relentless storm of secrets. His dark eyes locked onto the folded document, their stormy depths reflecting betrayal's bitter taste. The parchment lay pristine, yet it carried the poison of conspiracies and alliances bound in silence. Every word, every seal, echoed with a warning he could no longer ignore. The heiress stood close, her emerald gaze a fierce flame in the desert night. Beside him, She was no longer a puzzle wrapped in mysteries, but an ally armed with truths that threatened to unravel their world. Her fingers brushed the locket once more, a silent promise that the truth they sought was the only path to freedom. Outside, the desert wind howled, as if mourning the fractures hidden within the palace walls. "Those who sit in shadowed rooms," the sheikh said, voice thick with quiet fury, "plot chains went to bind me and all I've built." The council's elder scowled, stepping forward with a voice sharp as chiseled stone. "Your Grace, we protect the stability of this realm. The heiress brings danger disguised as salvation." "And yet it is the truth that defines stability," the sheikh countered, his voice gaining steel. "Not the lies we bury beneath gilded facades." The heiress met the elder's gaze squarely, a defiant fire burning in her eyes. "Change terrifies those clinging to power, but I am not here to be silenced or feared." Silence thickened the air, the council divided between loyalty and self-preservation. Tension curled like smoke around the marble pillars, echoing the tempest within the sheikh's soul. The room felt smaller, the gilded walls closing in as history and destiny collided. The stranger's footsteps echoed softly as he withdrew into the shadows. The unspoken threat lingered, pressing heavier than any blade. The sheikh turned away from the chamber's cold glare, seeking the sanctuary of his private quarters. His steps were weighed down by centuries of legacy, every step a reminder of the blood spilled to claim his empire. The heiress followed silently, the fading scent of jasmine weaving around the thick velvet curtains. The room was dim, the moonlight casting fractured patterns over the polished obsidian floor. The locket lay on the desk, a small talisman bridging past and future. He picked it up, fingers tracing the intricately carved emblem. A lifetime of buried secrets hummed beneath its surface. The fragile hold of control dissolved with every heartbeat. "Why did you reveal the truth now?" he murmured, voice heavy with both accusation and a hunger for answers. "Because lies have a cost," she replied, stepping closer. Her hand brushed his wrist, a delicate touch that carried the weight of shared burdens. "We cannot rebuild on shadows." He looked up, the cold armor of the sheikh shimmering with worn vulnerability. "Trust is a currency I can't afford." And yet, his gaze darkened. "You offer it freely." Her eyes shimmered with a mixture of sorrow and hope, a tempest just as fierce as his own. "Because some battles require more than swords and money, more than secrets and silence." A tremor passed through him. Beneath the weight of empire, beneath the legends spun over desert sands, a man long denied softness stirred awake. Their eyes locked, unspoken understanding pulsing between them like the desert's own heartbeat. Wild, relentless, alive. Suddenly, the sharp ring of a distant bell sliced through the quiet. The sound, a summons and a warning, shook the fragile calm. The sheikh's phone buzzed violently on the marble surface. His fingers hesitated before lifting the device. The screen bore a new message, one word flashing like a wound. "Tonight." No sender. A cold breath slipped down his spine. The heiress's hand found his again, steady and warm. "Whatever comes," she whispered, "we face it side by side." He squeezed her hand, a silent vow forged in the crucible of uncertainty. From the shadows of the room, a soft shuffle betrayed another presence. The Sheikh's gaze flicked to the doorway. A figure lingered, silent, watching, unreadable. Without breaking the moment, the Sheikh's voice dropped, sharp and commanding. "Who waits there?" No answer came. The figure stepped forward, revealing a face carved from the desert's harsh light, a mirror of their own haunted histories. "I bring news of those who would see you undone," the visitor said, eyes flickering with urgency. "Tonight, the lines between friend and enemy will blur, and the true test of your heart will begin." The Sheikh's breath caught, tension coiling like a serpent ready to strike. His gaze slid to the heiress, whose face was a mask of fierce determination. Outside, the desert's silence deepened, a vast expanse hiding threats and promise alike. The moonlight cast long, ominous shadows on the walls, harboring whispers of betrayal, hopes of redemption, and a love teetering on the edge of destiny. The Sheikh turned fully to face his unknown visitor, voice low and resolute. "Tell me everything. There is no time left for half-truths." The visitor's eyes gleamed darkly. "Then prepare yourself, for tonight the Empire's fate and your soul will hang by the thinnest of threads." A shiver raced through the room as the first cold gust of desert wind slipped past the cracks in the grand windows. And in that suspended moment, as history held its breath, the Sheikh understood. The battle for his heart, his empire, and her trust was only just beginning. The visitor's words still hung heavily in the air, like a desert mirage, dissolving too slowly. The Sheikh's gaze remained fixed on the dark eyes that bore into his very soul, the weight of impending doom anchoring every breath. Outside, the palace was silent, save for the restless wind sighing through carved stone arches. His mind churned, a battlefield of loyalty, betrayal, and unspoken fears. The document on the table, a tangible betrayal, sealed with ink and schemed deceit, glimmered dangerously under the faint moonlight. Every line hinted at fractures beneath the gleaming surface of his empire, cracks that threatened to consume everything he had built. The heiress stood unwavering beside him, her hand barely brushing his, in a silent offer of solidarity. She was no longer a stranger locked behind secrets, an unexpected ally in a war neither had prepared to fight alone. "That pact," the visitor continued, voice steady despite the tension, "ties your family to a bond forged in shadows, a binding oath that has preserved power, but demanded silence and sacrifice. To reveal it now is to unravel centuries of carefully guarded lies." A bitter laugh escaped the Sheikh's lips as he paced, the silk of his robe whispering beneath his steps. "Silence has been my refuge, my weapon, and now it feels like a prison." He glanced at the heiress, her emerald eyes burning not with fear, but defiance. "Why stand with me when the whole court sees you as a threat?" Her lips curved into a faint, grim smile. "Because truth is a double-edged sword. It can wound, but it can also heal. And there is more at stake than our pride. The visitor's eyes flickered toward the locket, momentarily betraying a spark of recognition. That emblem is the key. It marks you not just as heiress, but as bearer of a secret that could topple kings. The room seemed to shrink as the gravity of that revelation pressed down. The Sheikh's pulse quickened, a storm rising in the hollow of his chest. All the control he wielded, the empire shaped by unyielding authority, suddenly felt precarious. Our ancestors made choices beneath blood-red skies, the visitor said softly. Choices that demanded loyalty above all else, even family. The heiress stepped forward. I will not be a pawn in their game. The past cannot be the chains that bind us forever. Her words cut through the heavy silence like a blade, awakening a fierce hope in the Sheikh's gaze. For what felt like the first time, he saw not just a threat, but a spark of something that could ignite change. Suddenly, the air shifted, a tension sharper than the desert's edge. The heavy oak door creaked open again, and a figure stepped into the candlelight. It was the palace's chief advisor, his face stern, etched with apprehension. My lord, he said gravely, the council's divisions grow deeper. Whispers of treason spread like wildfire, fueled by those who fear what your alliance with the heiress might ignite. The Sheikh's jaw tightened. Then they misunderstand the nature of strength. Power without truth is a mirage. And yet they see only shadows, the advisor muttered, eyes flicking toward the heiress. They question her every move, every word. The heiress held her ground, unbroken. Fear blinds them, but I will not retreat. The Sheikh's eyes softened, drawing strength from the resolve before him. Neither will I. Together we will face the storm. He turned back towards the window where the desert spread endlessly, its sands shimmering beneath a pale dawn. The rising sun promised both light and heat, a dawn to reveal what had long been buried. In that fragile silence, the Sheikh's hand sought the heiress's, their fingers interlocking like the fragile threads of trust binding them. Their surroundings faded, the opulent room, the wary council, the ominous visitor, leaving only a moment suspended in fragile hope and looming danger. Then, as if on cue, the Sheikh's phone buzzed again, the screen illuminated with a message stark and chilling. Betrayal is closest when the heart is unguarded. His eyes widened, the words slamming into him like a blade. He tightened his grip around the heiress's hand, his knuckles white with the weight of unyielding resolve. A distant rumble echoed, distant thunder over the desert plains. But to the Sheikh, it sounded like the march of inevitable fate. He met the visitor's unwavering gaze. Tell me everything. No more half-truths. No more shadows. The visitor nodded. The enemy will come from within. Friends will reveal fangs. Tonight, all masks fall. The heiress drew closer, her breath a warm whisper in the cold air. Whatever comes, we stand, not just as allies, but as something more. The Sheikh's eyes flickered with something fragile, almost lost in the currents of power and pain. A promise of a heart beginning to break free from its icy prison. Outside, the dawn cracked through the horizon, spilling light that fractured the endless night. But within those walls, under layers of gold and secrets, the true war, the battle for trust, love, and survival, was only just beginning. The Sheikh's dark eyes never left the visitor's face as the heavy words settled into the air like a suffocating desert fog. Loyalty and betrayal tangled tightly around him, sharper than the daggers whispered among the council, colder than the stone halls that bore witness to centuries of power. The room felt impossibly small. Every breath weighted with despair and unspoken warnings. The heiress, standing close, shed the last shreds of uncertainty. Her emerald gaze was fierce, a flame unwavering beneath the storm of deceit. Her hand, almost instinctively, sought his, a quiet tether in the desolation threatening to engulf them both. The pact, the visitor continued, voice low but relentless, was made in blood before the first stone of this palace was laid. The vow sworn to protect the empire at any cost. Family, friends, even love. It conceals a truth darker than any shadow you've dared to face. The Sheikh's jaw clenched tightly, the tension visible in the rigid line of his neck. Years of silence echoed in that one moment, a weight heavier than gold or throne. His empire, his carefully crafted world, teetered on an edge carved through generations of violence and secrets. You expect me to believe that this, he gestured sharply to the document on the table, threatens everything we've built? That my own bloodline carries chains forged in betrayal? His voice was a growl, shaking off decades of stoicism to reveal the man beneath the legend. The heiress stepped forward, the soft folds of her gown whispering across the marble floor. It's why I came, why I risked so much, to break those chains and bring light where darkness was once law. Her words hovered between them, fragile, yet imbued with undeniable fire. The Sheikh's gaze softened, ever so slightly, a flicker of something unguarded, flickering behind eyes usually cold as desert stone. In the silence, the weight of their shared history, so long denied, pressed upon their souls. A sudden, sharp knock shattered the fragile moment. The Sheikh started, the raw urgency of incoming danger snapping the threads of intimacy between them. The door creaked open to reveal the palace's chief advisor, his face carved from years of unspoken loyalty and growing unease. "My lord," the advisor intoned gravely, the council fractures beneath the weight of these revelations. Whispers of treason and sedition spread like wildfire. Many see the heiress not as a savior, but as a threat to our legacy. The Sheikh's eye hardened, the chill of command settling like frost on steel. Then they misunderstand the essence of strength. Power without truth is a mirage easily shattered by winds of change. The heiress met the council elder's gaze boldly, voice steady despite the rising storm. They fear the unknown more than they cherish the truth. I am no enemy of this land, only a bearer of its long-forgotten secrets. Murmurs swelled in the room, words tipped with poison and uncertainty. The tension wrapped around the ancient pillars, pressing in on every corner, every whispered accusation. The Sheikh lifted a hand, silencing the storm with a commanding presence born of countless battles. "We will face the truth together," he declared, voice resonating with unwavering resolve. "No longer will we hide behind veils of deceit." The visitor, having lingered in the shadows, stepped back with a measured nod. His eyes promised more revelations, more dangers lurking beneath the surface. The heiress's grip tightened on the Sheikh's hand, a silent vow amidst a maelstrom of doubt and fear. In that charged silence, the Sheikh turned toward the towering windows. Far below, the city began to stir, the first breath of dawn creeping quietly over endless dunes and glowing minarets. A fragile light pierced the darkness, a symbol of hope entwined with the threat looming over their fates. The locket rested heavily in his palm, its carved emblem a haunting echo of unseen battles. Beneath the ornate surface of wealth, beneath the currents of power, the past clawed its way forward, soaked in blood, secrets, and promises broken in the shadows. "Why reveal this now?" the Sheikh asked softly, his voice betraying a crack in his formidable facade. "Because silence is a shackle," the heiress said, stepping closer. "Because truth, no matter how painful, is the only path to freedom." Her breath was warm against his ear, the scent of jasmine and desert nights, a stark contrast to the cold. Marble beneath their feet. His fingers brushed hers, a tentative connection surging with unspoken longing and desperate hope. The atmosphere thickened, their bodies close, yet guarding untold fears. The Sheikh's mind raced, torn between the iron-clad command of his lineage and the fragile possibility of a new tomorrow shaped by trust and love. Suddenly, his phone buzzed sharply, cutting through the charged stillness. The screen glowed with a single word, stark and haunting: tonight. No sender, no explanation. The Sheikh's breath caught, a shiver tracing his spine. Fate whispered its cruel decree. The heiress's hand reached for his again, her touch grounding him amid the encroaching storm. "Whatever comes, we face it together." He nodded once, the last vestiges of his imperious armor giving way to the man willing to fight for what mattered most. A shadow shifted at the entrance. The visitor's gaze remained fixed, a silent sentinel in the gathering darkness. "Tonight," he said quietly, "the thin veil that has protected this empire will be torn away. Truths will collide, loyalties will shatter, and only the strongest hearts will endure the reckoning." The Sheikh met the heiress's eyes, the pulse of their fragile alliance beating fast beneath the weight of destiny. Outside, the desert winds howled through the empty courtyards, carrying whispers of treachery, hope, and a love born among ruins. The storm was coming, and as the first rays of dawn fell upon the palace's gilded spires, the billionaire Sheikh understood. Nothing, no oath, no crown, no secret, was safe from the fire. About to be unleashed, the final message on his phone glowed once more. Trust no one. And in that harrowing moment, the walls he had built around his heart finally began to crumble. The presence in the doorway lingered like a shadow, refusing to fade. The Sheikh's dark eyes remained fixed on the visitor, whose every word built a wall of impending doom around the fragile sanctuary they had tried to create. The heavy weight of betrayal pressed down on him, a suffocating cloak spun from secrets long buried beneath layers of gold and power. The heiress tightened her grip on his hand, an unspoken pledge weaving through the silence. She was no longer a threat, but the only ally he could trust in this labyrinth of deception. Her emerald gaze burned fiercely, a fire that refused to be extinguished even amid the swirling storm. The pact was forged in darkness, the visitor whispered, voice low and deliberate. Before the stones of your palace were laid, before the empire rose from the desert sands, it is a bond of blood and betrayal, a curse passed from father to son, mother to daughter. It shields power at the cost of loyalty and love. The sheikh swallowed hard, the cold veneer cracking for a fraction of a heartbeat, revealing the raw man beneath the myth. Memories surged, whispers from a distant past, promises broken in the shadow of swords, families torn apart by silence. The locket's emblem, once dismissed as a mere trinket, now shimmered with a new and terrible gravity. "Do you expect me to believe this?" His voice grew hoarse. "Threatens everything I fought for? That my bloodline carries chains forged in betrayal?" His hand slammed against the polished desk, the echo sharp in the cavernous room. The heiress stepped forward, her voice steady, despite the tension crushing the air. "Because those chains bind not just blood, but destiny. I came seeking the truth, to shatter the lies that imprison us." Her words cut through the silence like a scimitar, awakening a spark in the sheikh's fading hope. For the first time in years, he saw beyond suspicion, a chance for something real, fragile, but fierce. A sudden knock fractured the moment. The door opened, and the chief advisor entered, his face etched with long-buried concerns. "My lord," he intoned, his voice heavy with the weight of unspoken threats, "the council is fracturing. Rumors of treason circulate. Many see the heiress as a poison to our legacy rather than a cure." The sheikh's eyes hardened, the unforgiving steel of authority snapping back into place. Those who bind themselves to fear will be swept away by its tide. Power without truth is a mirage, vulnerable to the desert winds of change. The heiress met the elderly councilman's cold gaze, voice unwavering. "They fear what they do not understand, but the truth I bring is no threat. Injustice is." Whispers swirled, sharp as desert sandstorms. But the sheikh raised a hand, silencing the room with a presence forged from countless battles fought both in court and within. "We will unearth every shadow," he declared, voice commanding and certain. "No longer will lies hide behind gilded curtains." The visitor retreated to the shadows, his ominous promise lingering like a curse. The heiress's fingers tightened around the sheikh's hand, two souls amidst a tempest, united and unyielding. Turning toward the immense windows, the sheikh's gaze swept over the awakening city, a jeweled tapestry stretching beyond endless dunes. Dawn's first light cut the darkness into shards of possibility and peril. The locket, heavy in his palm, throbbed like a heartbeat, a talisman of past sins and future reckoning. Beneath the palace's grandeur, the past clawed toward the present, a ghost impossible to ignore. "Why reveal all this now?" he whispered, voice rough with weariness and yearning. "Because silence is the heaviest prison." The heiress answered, stepping closer, warmth radiating amid the cold marble and fading moonlight. Truth, no matter how painful, is the only road to freedom. Her breath brushed his skin, the scent of jasmine and midnight desert, a fragile balm against the storm within. His fingers found hers, their touch a tentative spark in the vast darkness. But the fragile calm shattered with the sudden buzz of his phone. The screen flared, a single word, stark and electric. Tonight. No sender, no explanation. Only a thread of cold foreboding winding its way through his veins. The heiress's hand sought his once more, grounding him amid the rising tempest. Whatever comes, she murmured, we face it together. He nodded, the last remnants of imperious solitude falling away, like dust in the desert wind. From the shadows, the visitor's gaze remained a dark flame, silent yet warning. The veil protecting this empire, the visitor spoke with quiet finality, will be torn aside tonight. Truths will clash, loyalties will fracture. Only hearts hardened by fire will survive the reckoning. The Sheikh's eyes locked with the heiress's, their alliance fragile but fiercely alive. Outside, the desert winds howled, carrying whispers of treachery, hope, and a love that stood poised on the razor's edge of destiny. But just as the first ray of dawn touched the palace spires, the Sheikh's phone buzzed again. This time, a chilling new message glowed. Trust is the greatest weapon and the deadliest betrayal. The edges of his world trembled, and in that merciless moment, the Sheikh felt the fortress of his heart begin to crumble. Cracks racing like wildfire through the walls he'd vowed never to let full. The palace, bathed in the first fragile light of dawn, held a silence thick with anticipation. The storm that had threatened to undo empires and unravel hearts seemed to pause, suspended between the whispers of desert winds and the steady breaths of two souls finally refusing to surrender. The billionaire Sheikh stood by the sprawling window, his silhouette etched against the radiant horizon. The locket lay open in his palm, its emblem no longer a symbol of hidden chains, but a key unlocking the future he had long forbidden himself to imagine. He felt the weight of centuries lift, replaced by a cautious hope blossoming amid the ruin of old betrayals. Behind him, the heiress appeared, her presence a quiet balm to the chaos that had ruled their nights. Their eyes met, a moment suspended where words fell away, and something far deeper spoke with the honesty of unguarded hearts. I have carried this burden for too long alone, he confessed, voice low yet steady. But you showed me that truth is not a weapon to destroy, but a light to guide. Her smile was soft, radiant, a mirror to the strength beneath her delicate exterior. And you taught me that even the coldest fortress can open when trust replaces fear. As they faced one another, the palace doors opened, and members of the council entered, faces wearied but changed. The air, once heavy with suspicion and fear, now held a tentative peace. The scandalous whispers have ceased, the council elder spoke, breaking the reverent silence. The truths revealed have reshaped the path before us. Your courage, my lord, and yours, madam, have averted ruin. The realm breathes freer because of it. A murmur of approval rippled quietly through the gathered nobility. Respect slowly knitting fractured alliances. The heiress's head held high. She exchanged a glance with the sheikh. Their unspoken vow, anchoring the fragile harmony, now awakening within these ancient halls. Later, in the intimacy of the private chambers, the sheikh and the heiress stood side by side, gazing outward at the city, stirring beneath a sky, washed in hues of pink and gold. The sounds of life, awakening, distant calls of merchants, fluttering curtains in breeze, were gentle reminders of the world they were rebuilding together. The sheikh's hand found hers, fingers intertwining in a promise of shared strength and new beginnings. "No longer do I wish to hide behind shadows," he said softly. "Together we will build an empire not of fear and silence, but of love and truth." Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, joy mingled with relief. "Let this be our covenant, to face whatever comes, united and unbreakable." Outside the palace, the desert bloomed under the caress of dawn's light. Palm trees swayed serenely, their leaves whispering ancient blessings, as if the very land celebrated this union, forged not only in passion, but in truth. In the weeks that followed, the realm felt the ripple of change. The council's divisions healed under newfound respect, suspicion giving way to hope. The sheikh's dominion, once overshadowed by secrecy and betrayal, now glowed with the promise of renewal. He and the heiress walked through fragrant gardens, her laughter like the sweetest melody amidst the blossoming jasmine and roses. In her presence, the man once known for his impenetrable resolve softened, revealing a tenderness reserved only for her. They spoke of dreams once abandoned, of children's laughter echoing through marble halls, and of a future painted with possibility. On a radiant afternoon, beneath a sky clear and endless, the billionaire sheikh publicly declared his love and commitment. Surrounded by family and allies whose doubts had faded into unwavering support, he and the heiress embraced the promise of forever. As the sun dipped behind the dunes, casting a golden glow across the palace, the sheikh felt a peace he had never known, a release from the chains of the past, and an embrace of a love that had transformed his very being. The locket, now resting against her heart, was no longer a relic of shadows, but a testament to the journey they had endured. Their souls, once guarded and fractured, now beat as one, resilient, fearless, and free. And in that sacred union, beneath endless skies and the watchful eyes of the desert stars, the billionaire sheikh and his beloved heiress found not just salvation, but a home, where love reigned eternal, and trust was the crown they both wore with quiet, unshakable pride.